Welcome back. Today, we continue to present the questions of the first part, Section D, Cost Management, Activity-Based Costing, ABC, and Life Cycle Costing. Follow the channel to receive all questions from multiple sources, old and new, until 2023. If you have any questions or requests, please write them in the comments and you will be answered. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel to reach the largest number of people interested in the CMA certificate. Let's get started. Question 1. Which of the following is not a principle of target costing? A. Cross-functional involvement. B. Focus solely on production. C. Focus on design. D. Value chain involvement. The answer is B. Focus solely on production. Target costing involves determining the allowable cost of a product given its selling price and potential volume. The target costing process focuses on all of the elements in the firm's value chain, not just on the production piece. Question 2. All of the following are likely to be used as a cost allocation base in activity-based costing except the A. Units of materials used to manufacture the product. B. Cost of materials used to manufacture the product. C. Number of vendors supplying the materials used to manufacture the product. D. Number of different materials used to manufacture the product. The answer is B. Cost of materials used to manufacture the product. In an activity-based costing system, cost allocation bases typically include a number of different materials used to manufacture the product, the units of materials used to manufacture the product, and a number of vendors supplying the materials used to manufacture the product. The cost of materials used to manufacture the product would not be a cost allocation base. Question 3. Olympic Footwear makes 3 models of running shoe, the gold, the silver, and the bronze. Next year, the firm anticipates $1.32 million in overhead costs. It also expects using the following number of machine hours for each model. Model machine hours. Gold 65,090. Silver 48,540. Bronze 92,370. If Olympic allocates overhead by machine hours, what is the firm's appropriate predetermined overhead rate? A. $6.41 per machine hour. B. $20.28 per machine hour. C. $27.19 per machine hour. D. $14.29 per machine hour. The answer is A. $6.41 per machine hour. Correct. The predetermined overhead rate is expected overhead divided by the expected activity of the driver, machine hours. Therefore, the predetermined overhead rate is $6.41 per machine hour. $1,320,000 divided by 65,090 plus 48,540 plus 92,370. Question 4. At the beginning of the year, managers at King Industries estimated $400,000 in manufacturing overhead, 20,000 direct labor hours, and 30,000 machine hours. Actual manufacturing costs at the end of the year were $425,000 in manufacturing overhead. During the year, 22,000 direct labor hours and 27,000 machine hours were incurred. If King Industries uses a normal costing system, and if overhead is applied based on direct labor hours, how much overhead was applied during the year? A. $440,000. B. $540,000. C. $400,000. D. $425,000. The answer is A. $440,000. Correct. With a normal costing system, the predetermined overhead rate equals estimated overhead divided by the estimated base, in this case direct labor hours. The actual activity in the base is then used to apply the overhead. The predetermined overhead rate is $20 per direct labor hour, $400,000 divided by 20,000 direct labor hours. The overhead applied during the year equals $440,000, $20 per direct labor hour times 22,000 actual direct labor hours. Question 5. Topco manufactures 2 types of gadgets, regular and deluxe. The firm's overhead consists of the following: $375,000 in setup costs with number of setups as the driver, $1,500,000 in machining costs with machine hours as the driver, and $750,000 in packing costs with packing orders as the driver. Data for the current period follow. Regular deluxe. Number of setups 200-400. Machine hours 2,500 5,000. Packing orders 100 275. Units produced 1,500 2,250. What is the total overhead allocated to regular gadgets under a traditional allocation based on machine hours? A. $875,000. B. $1,050,000. C. $825,000. D. $1,750,000. The answer is A. $875,000. Correct. Using a traditional allocation based on machine hours, the overhead allocation rate equals estimated overhead divided by the estimated base. The total estimated overhead is $2,625,000, $375,000 plus $1,500,000 plus $750,000. The total base, machine hours, is 7,500 hours, 2,500 plus 5,000. The overhead allocation rate is $350 per machine hour, $2,625,000 divided by 7,500 machine hours. The overhead allocated to the regular gadgets equals $875,000, 2,500 machine hours times $350 per machine hour. Question 6. Young company is beginning operations, and is considering 3 alternative ways in which to allocate manufacturing overhead to individual units produced. Young can use a plant-wide rate, departmental rates, or activity-based costing. Young will produce many types of products in its single plant, and not all products will be processed through all departments. In which one of the following independent situations would reported net income for the first year be the same regardless of which overhead allocation method had been selected? A. All ending inventory balances are zero. B. All manufacturing overhead is a fixed cost. C. All production costs approach those costs that were budgeted. D. The sales mix does not vary from the mix that was budgeted. The answer is A. All ending inventory balances are zero. If a period begins with no inventory balances, reported net income for the first year would be the same regardless of which overhead allocation method has been selected. Question 7. The Grell Company applies overhead based on direct labor hours. For 20x4, the company estimated overhead costs to be $500,000 based on estimated direct labor hours of 25,000. The actual direct labor hours were 32,000, and actual overhead was $540,000. What was Grell's predetermined overhead rate? A. $15.625 per direct labor hour. B. $20 per direct labor hour. C. $16.875 per direct labor hour. D. $21.60 per direct labor hour. The answer is B. $20 per direct labor hour. Correct. The predetermined overhead rate is calculated as estimated overhead divided by the estimated base, in this case direct labor hours. Therefore, the predetermined overhead rate equals $20 per direct labor hour. $500,000 divided by 25,000 direct labor hours. Question 8. Mandy Appliances manufactures toaster ovens. Each oven contains 15 parts totaling $35 in direct materials. Each oven requires 3 hours of machine time and 1.5 hours for inspection. The company has the following information regarding activities, activity drivers, and cost per driver units. Activity driver cost per driver unit. Machining machine hours $3.75 per machine hour. Materials handling number of parts $1.20 per part. Assembly number of parts 85 cents per part. Inspection hours $11.80 per inspection hour. What is the cost of machining per toaster oven? A. $18. B. $12.75. C. $11.25. D. $17.70. The answer is C. $11.25. Correct. The cost per driver unit for machining is $3.75 per machine hour. Each oven requires 3 hours of machine time. Therefore, the cost of machining per toaster oven is $11.25, $3.75 times 3 hours. Question 9. Lightning Gear makes 3 models of running shorts, the Zip, the Flash, and the Sonic Boom. Manufacturing information for each model is provided below. Model direct materials cost direct labor hours. Zip $2.45 0.50. Flash $3.25 0.75. Sonic Boom $4.15 1.25. Lightning's direct labor costs are $12 per hour. Lightning also allocates overhead based on direct labor hours, with a predetermined rate of $3.80 per hour. Given these figures, what is the total cost of producing one pair of flash shorts? A. $15.10. B. $12.25. C. $10.35. D. $19.15. The answer is A. $15.10. Correct. The total cost of producing one pair of flash shorts equals direct materials cost plus direct labor cost plus applied overhead. For the flash shorts, the total cost of producing one pair equals $15.10, $3.25 plus 0.75 hours times $12 plus 0.75 hours times $3.80. Question 10. Which of these are a benefit of using activity-based costing, ABC? A. ABC reduces distortions caused by traditional methods that may make one product seem more or less profitable than it really is. B. ABC uses traditional rules for managers, so acceptance is usually automatic. C. ABC reports conform to GAAP and save the expense of needing to create more than one format. D. ABC simplifies the amount of information supplied to managers so that only relevant information is supplied. The answer is A. ABC reduces distortions caused by traditional methods that may make one product seem more or less profitable than it really is. ABC reduces distortions to profits by providing a more accurate picture of costs than traditional methods because it uses the most appropriate cost driver for each activity, while traditional methods use a very limited number of cost drivers. Question 11. At the end of Year 3, the managers of Guardian Company are planning for Year 4. In Year 3, manufacturing overhead was $349,600, direct labor hours equaled 16,000 hours, and machine hours totaled 48,000 hours. For Year 4, manufacturing overhead is estimated to be $524,400, direct labors are estimated at 20,000 hours, and machine hours are estimated at 50,000 hours. If overhead is applied based on direct labor hours, and 19,900 direct labor hours and 50,750 machine hours were used during Year 4, how much overhead did Guardian apply during the year? A. $524,400. B. $521,778. C. $523,628. D. $208,751. The answer is B. $521,778. Correct. The predetermined overhead rate equals the Year 4 estimated overhead divided by the Year 4 estimated direct labor hours. The predetermined overhead rate equals $26.22 per direct labor hour, $524,400 divided by 20,000 direct labor hours. The applied overhead equals the predetermined overhead rate multiplied by the direct labor hours used. Applied overhead equals $521,778, $26.22 per direct labor hour times 19,900 direct labor hours. Question 12. The use of activity-based costing, ABC, normally results in A. Decreased setup costs being charged to low-volume products. B. Substantially greater unit costs for low-volume products than is reported by traditional product costing. C. Equalizing setup costs for all product lines. D. Lower unit costs for low-volume products than is reported by traditional product costing. The answer is B. Substantially greater unit costs for low-volume products than is reported by traditional product costing. Traditional costing systems are volume-based systems. They normally allocate overhead by either direct labor hours, costs, or machine hours. ABC allocates overhead based upon the activities driving the overhead. Therefore, traditional costing tends to apply too much overhead to the high-volume products and too little to low-volume products. The use of ABC normally results in greater unit costs for low-volume products than is reported by traditional product costing, since the lower-volume products will receive their fair share of overhead costs using ABC. Question 13. Mandy Appliances manufactures toaster ovens. Each oven contains 15 parts totaling $35 in direct materials. Each oven requires 3 hours of machine time. At $15 per machine hour and 1.5 hours for inspection. The company has the following information regarding activities, activity drivers, and cost per driver units. Activity driver cost per driver unit. Machining machine hours $3.75 per machine hour. Materials handling number of parts $1.20 per part. Assembly number of parts 85 cents per part. Inspection hours $11.80 per inspection hour. What is the cost of materials handling per toaster oven? He answer is A. $18. Correct. The cost per driver unit for materials handling is $1.20 per part, and each toaster oven has 15 parts, therefore, the cost of materials handling per toaster oven is $18, 15 parts times $1.20 per part. Question 14. The following information comes from Accurate Accounting's ABC system. Cost pool driver cost per driver unit. Administration number of partner hours $25.50 per partner hour. Recruiting and training direct professional hours $2.60 per direct professional hour. Customer development revenue billed 4 cents per dollar of revenue. Accurate just finished an audit of Pinnacle Industries and billed the company $290,000. The audit required 1,050 direct professional hours and 420 partner hours. What is the total amount of overhead Accurate should assign to the Pinnacle audit? The answer is B. $25,040. Correct. The total overhead assigned to the Pinnacle audit is the sum of the administration, recruiting and training, and customer development overhead. The cost assigned to each cost pool equals the activity of the driver multiplied by the cost per driver unit. Total overhead assigned equals 420 times $25.50 plus 1,050 times $2.60 plus $290,000 times 4 cents. Total overhead assigned equals $10,710 plus $2,730 plus $11,600 equals $25,040. Question 15. Apex Corporation manufactures 2 types of widgets, Standard and Pro. For the past quarter, Apex's overhead costs consist of $1.25 million in machining costs, with a driver of machine hours, and $1.45 million in assembly costs, with a driver of direct labor hours. Other data for the period include the following. Standard Pro. Direct labor hours 10,000 15,000. Machine hours 18,000 32,000. Number of parts 40,000 60,000. What is the total overhead allocated to the Pro widgets under activity-based costing? A. $1,080,000. B. $1,620,000. C. $1,670,000. D. $1,450,000. The answer is C. $1,670,000. Correct. Under activity-based costing, calculate an application rate for machining, then calculate an application rate for assembly. After calculating the application rates, use them to calculate the overhead allocated to the Pro widgets. Application rate for machining equals $1,250,000 divided by 18,000 plus 32,000 equals $25 per machine hour. Application rate for assembly equals $1,450,000 divided by 10,000 plus 15,000 equals $58 per direct labor hour. Overhead allocated to Pro widgets equals 32,000 machine hours times $25 plus 15,000 direct labor hours times $58. Overhead allocated to Pro widgets equals 800,000 plus 870,000 equals $1,670,000. Question 16. Which of the following is not an advantage of using activity-based cost drivers? A. Costs are more reliably determined. B. Implementation is relatively inexpensive compared to other methods. C. Detailed breakdown of activities helps firms remove non-value-added activities. D. Cost deviations from expectations are highlighted. The answer is B. Implementation is relatively inexpensive compared to other methods. Activity-based cost drivers require a detailed description of each type of activity, so initial implementation can be costly and time-consuming. Question 17. In lifecycle costing, which of these is the primary method of lowering downstream costs? A. Improving supplier relationships. B. Improving product designs in the downstream phase. C. Improving the upstream and manufacturing cost phases. D. Proactive management during the downstream phase such as streamlining manufacturing costs. The answer is C. Improving the upstream and manufacturing cost phases. By the time a product reaches the downstream phase, it is too late to be proactive about changes unless the product has been correctly and efficiently designed during the upstream and manufacturing cost phases. Question 18. The following information comes from Motion Moving's ABC system. Cost pool driver cost per driver unit. Administration revenue billed 8 cents per dollar revenue. Recruiting and training number of job hours 10 cents per hour. Travel miles driven $1.05 per mile. Motion just completed a moving job that required the company's employees to put in 40 job hours and drive a total of 620 miles. The job produced revenue of $2,500. What is the total amount of overhead Motion should assign to this job? The answer is D. $855. Correct. The total overhead assigned to the job equals administration plus recruiting and training plus travel overhead. The overhead assigned to each cost pool equals the activity of the cost driver multiplied by the cost per driver unit. Total overhead assigned equals $2,500 times 8 cents, plus 40 times 10 cents, plus 620 times $1.05. Total overhead assigned equals $200 plus $4 plus $651 equals $855. Question 19. Bing Book Bindery has identified two activity cost pools, printing, with an activity driver of batches processed, and binding, with an activity driver of direct labor hours. For the coming quarter, total factory overhead of $140,000 is split such that 65% is allocated to printing and 35% is allocated to binding. Bing makes two types of books, hardcover and softcover. During the quarter, it expects to produce 5,200 hardcover books and 12,000 softcover books. Hardcovers are produced in batch sizes of 100 and softcovers are produced in batch sizes of 300. A hardcover book requires 0.75 hours of direct labor, while a softcover book requires 0.25 hours. What is the overhead allocation to softcovers for printing? A. $39,565. B. $59,150. C. $51,435. D. $27,696. The answer is A. $39,565. Correct. With an allocation of 65% of the factory overhead, printing overhead equals $91,000, $140,000 times 65%, and the allocation base for printing is number of batches. Hardcovers take 52 batches, 5,200 divided by 100, and softcovers take 40 batches, 12,000 divided by 300, therefore, there are 92 total batches, 52 plus 40. The printing overhead allocated to softcovers equals $39,565, $91,000 times 40 divided by 92. Question 20. All of the following are true statements about activity-based costing except A. Activity-based costing discourages the allocation of common fixed costs that are not consumed by any customer or product line. B. Activity-based costing is only used for manufacturing products. C. Activity-based costing helps prevent cross-subsidization errors. D. Activity-based costing breaks down fixed overhead costs into cost pools that relate to product or customer lines using activities other than volume of units. The answer is B. Activity-based costing is only used for manufacturing products. Correct. Activity-based costing can be used to allocate fixed overhead into cost pools that relate to product or customer lines using activities other than volume of units for service firms in addition to manufacturing product firms. For example, activity-based costing can be used to allocate fixed costs using batch activities, product line activities, or customer activities. Question 21. Mandy Appliances manufactures toaster ovens. Each oven contains 15 parts totaling $35 in direct materials. Each oven requires 3 hours of machine time at $15 per machine hour, and 1.5 hours for inspection. The company has the following information regarding activities, activity drivers, and cost per driver units. Activity driver cost per driver unit. Machining machine hours $3.75 per machine hour. Materials handling number of parts $1.20 per part. Assembly number of parts 85 cents per part. Inspection hours $11.80 per inspection hour. What is the cost of assembly per toaster oven? A. $18. B. $12.75. C. $11.25. D. $17.70. The answer is B. $12.75. Correct. The cost per driver unit for assembly is 85 cents per part, and each toaster oven has 15 parts. Therefore, the cost of assembly per toaster oven is $12.75, 85 cents times 15.